Well, let's get started. And Ghana is on high alert after jihadist attacks in Togo over the weekend as Ghana Burkina security patrols resume along the border in the north. Now, the joint security patrols resumed on Monday, July 22, 2024, and were conducted around the Bito and Boko sectors of the borders. The jihadists attacked the Togolese military camp at a village of Pekankadi near the border with Burkina Faso. Now, let's share with you how this has been and what it really entails for us here in Ghana. If you look at the numbers, now it's really the location is the Togolese military camp at the village of Pekakandi, and it happened on the 20th of July 2024. Now, there were some 6 casualties, 6 soldiers were killed, several raw materials were also looted. So trying to break down the attack for you. So there you have it, that it happened on the 20th, and we have 6 casualties already. Now, the Saturday attack left around 6 soldiers dead, as I've told you already, and several war materials looted by the terrorists. So this is what you see in the video that will be showing you here. You can see, military men there. Now, in this video released by the jihadist claiming responsibility for the attack, dozens of, military people and military accoutrement were affected in this. You can clearly see some shootings happening there, and this is a video released by the jihadists there who have since claimed responsibility. You see dozens of attackers on motorbikes in this video. They are seen climbing the outer Hesco barriers, shooting from top into the camp. The gate of the base is wide open. 2 armored vehicles were left, behind. Joining us now is my colleague Elias Otanko, who has been monitoring the situation from the northeast region. Elias has been really gathering more info on this. Elias, I'm grateful to you for joining. What has been happening in Togo? Can you give us a brief?
Well, a lot has been happening in Togo regarding the security situation in this country. On the 14th of July, we understand there was a failed coup in Togo, and then on 20th of July, as you show in the video, the jihadists attacked a military outpost near the border with Burkina Faso, killing 6 soldiers and seizing or looting several other or large quantity of war materials. As we understand, these jihadists are based in Burkina Faso, and they actually moved from the territory of Burkina Faso into Togolese territory to carry out this particular attack, where this particular outpost is situated, and the Burkina border is just about 10 to 15 kilometers. And this is a hotspot or a place where the jihadist activities is very high. And so, yes, the jihadists have claimed responsibility for this particular attack. They have released audios and videos of this particular attack. And as we understand, Togolese forces or Togolese authorities have reinforced their men in that particular area. But the security situation still remains very fluid. Since Sunday, there have been several people that are moving from this area to the capital of the Savins region, which is Dapango. Today, we have videos of several dozens of Burkinabés and Togolese in this area moving to bigger towns, for instance, the Dapango and other areas in Togo.
Okay, so they are fleeing from the conflict zone to safer havens in Togo. Is that the understanding you're giving us?
Exactly. Many people are fleeing this particular area. And mind you, this area had already been evacuated. The residents in this area had already been evacuated some time back in 2021 by the Togolese authorities. In fact, most people that had been living in this area had been asked to leave so that it will serve as a buffer zone for the Togolese authorities to be able to fight the jihadists. So a few number of residents were still there or began to come back to this particular areas when these particular large-scale attacks occurred. And from the checks that we have made in this particular area and within sympathizers of the jihadist group, there could be two reasons for this attack. As we understand, first, it could be because the Togolese forces are carrying out inroad operations in Burkina Faso, because we know that the jihadists are mostly based in Burkina Faso. And so there are times that Togolese forces have to cross the border to Burkina Faso territory to pursue these jihadists. So one, that could be the reason. And another reason is that the jihadists carry out this large-scale attack just to indicate their readiness for the establishment of a new Matica. And in a new Matica means a new region. As we understand, just at the end of June, there was a new Matica that was created for these jihadists in Niger. And so this large-scale attack could mean it's an indication that the jihadists are indicating that they are ready to establish a new region in Togo. So these are two reasons why there could be this particular attack last Saturday.
But we've heard of the fact that 6 military men died. Did none of the jihadists die in this particular, battle that went on?
As you saw in that particular video, the Togolese authorities did not have enough time to respond. So as we gathered, the jihadists were able to freely overrun the bases and move on their motorbikes into the Burkina Bay territory. So there was any response from the Togolese authorities from the time the jihadists launched attack to the time that they completely withdraw from the base that had been completely destroyed. So as we speak, Togolese forces have not given any indication that there was some jihadists were killed, and also jihadists have not given indication that they lost men. In most cases, when they lose men, they announce it. This particular case, they did not announce it, probably indicating that they did not lose any men in this particular battle.
Let's talk about security along the common Togo-Burkina-Ghana border. What has been the situation since this attack?
It's been very fluid. As we understand, the military, the Ghanaian military and the Burkina Faso military began joint patrol on Monday. This, as we understand, is directly as a result of this attack in Togo, and also as a result of the field coup, where we understand many Togolese forces that took part in this field coup are currently fleeing into Ghana. And this particular joint patrol had been in place since 2021 or since 2019, but since the Burkina Bay broke from ECOWAS to form their own alliance state, this kind of patrol has slowed. But as a result of this particular attack, we saw a resumption of these patrols last Monday. And as we understand, the Ghanaian forces, the Burkina Bay, are currently patrolling or carrying joint patrols along this particular border. They have been tight security, as we understand. As a result of this particular attack, security forces along the border have been put on high alert. They have been constant or increased military activities along this particular common border.
Did I hear you say there's been a failed coup attempt in Togo? When did this really happen? It looks like
that was on July 14th, 6 days after this particular attack.
7-6.
Quite interesting. You're still here on the pause, but let's broaden this conversation and bring in a security analyst, Adib Sani, who is joining us via Zoom. We'll also connect with Upper East Regional Minister. Let me start with you, Adib Sani. Grateful to you for joining us. Now, what's your own reading of the situation at hand?
Can you come again, please?
Yeah, I'm asking of, I'm sure by now you also have a certain intel about what happened in Togo, the Togo-Burkina border, that really has a tendency of also affecting the Ghanaian community along the border. And I'm asking, what's your own reading of what really happened on that borderline?
I've spoken with some contacts, not just in Ghana, but in Togo. And it's very consistent with what Elias has indicated. This is a cross-border attack. And it's not exclusive to Togo, and it's not the first time. Indeed, just about some 3 days ago, there was a statement from the Defense Ministry of Niger indicating that a number of their soldiers were also killed during an operation between Niger and Burkina Faso. Okay. So it is safe to say that Burkina Faso is the haven for all of these terrorist groups, especially Jamaat Nusra al-Islami wal-Muslimin. That is responsible for a lot of the attacks in Burkina Faso, in Mali, in Niger, and of course in Togo. Like I indicated, it's not the first time. There's been a lot of operations within that area, but I don't think that has been enough to disincentivize the terrorists from staging these sort of attacks. That is very similar to other terrorist groups. I mean, when you take a closer look at the modus operandi of Al-Shabaab in Somalia, they besiege a military base with all the firepower you can imagine. They overrun it and they seize a lot of the military hardware. Similar techniques was used in the attack at the Cabo Delgado province in Mozambique. And a lot of other terrorist groups have used similar techniques in other countries. But I'm particularly concerned about how disunited ECOWAS is, particularly also the initiatives such as Accra Initiative, with the formation of the Sahel Alliance between Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. It has disjointed our efforts towards curbing the spirit of jihadism within the sub-region. And I've always indicated that the more disunited we are, the more strengthened these terrorists become. And according to the Global Terrorism Index, about 2 years ago, Burkina Faso is the second most impacted country by terrorism globally. And the region accounts for almost half of all terrorist attacks globally. So surely it is a matter of grave concern, especially for countries such as Ghana.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that once we have a disunited front, it makes our fight against jihadists quite porous. If our leaders know this, why are we not trying to patch up to ensure that we present a united front to win this fight?
Well, it's a challenge, my brother. And I'm, as a close watcher of terrorist movements and someone who has been very participative so far as a lot of these initiatives is concerned, I am very worried about the number of initiatives we have. We have the Joint Task Force, MINUSMA, Accra Initiative. We have a whole lot of other ones that's splintered in nature and everybody asking for money from everywhere, all right? So if we are able to come together under one umbrella, so everything would be synergized, okay, I think would be winning the war. Unfortunately, this has also become business. I mean, unfortunate for some people who would easily run to the West, especially EU, US. We are under attack. We need money. Okay, and I think that is where the problem is. So I would expect also the Americans, the Europeans, to tell our leaders, look, put your acts together, come together under a single umbrella. Then we are willing to support. But if you support this, you support that, it's not synergized in any way. But the hope for us was the Accra Initiative. Okay. Unfortunately, with the formation of the Sahel Alliance and because of the lack of trust between these members of the Sahel Alliance and other ECOWAS countries, it is a matter of grave concern, coupled with the military takeovers. Okay. So until we are able to bring all of these countries together and find a common solution to our differences, these terrorists would continue being on the offensive. And you cannot run away from the fact that they are targeting everybody, and Ghana, of course, is not excluded.
This must be a worrying situation for all of us, on the continent, especially sub-Saharan Africa at this moment. Where do we start from?
Okay, let me tell you the full facts of the matter. Okay, our approach, I must say confidently, without mincing words, it's not working. Look, I have been very much part of parcel of this. We have attended a lot of international conferences. The last one was I think, last year, when we had people from all across West Africa and beyond coming together in Accra at the conference center. The CSOs met. We deliberated. I made inputs, which was captured in the final communique. Then the heads of states came to adopt it. But let me tell you that our approach is not working because it's been so militarized. And when you look at the movements of terrorists and the incidents of terrorism in 2016 and compare it to date, you realize that the terrorists are winning. You cannot run away from it. So what we are saying is, and as the executive director of the Chatiki Center for Human Security and Peace Building, we are advocating for human security to be upheld as a comprehensive framework to deal with the myriad of security challenges we face, okay? So issues of marginalization. In Ghana, there are concerns about our treatment of the Fulbeys. Just about 2 weeks ago, had it not been the timely intervention of the IGP, Dr. Dampari, lives would have been lost in Pandai when the community attacked the palace of the Fulani chief. There was over a 90-year-old woman and a toddler who couldn't escape. But the police I was on phone with the IGP, 12 midnight. He was coordinating his commanders on the ground who intervened and saved these individuals. Unfortunately, however, the palace was not saved. It was burnt, okay? Recent incidents involving mob injustices against Fulanis is a worrying phenomenon that needs to be addressed. Issues of youth unemployment. According to the Ghana Statistical Service, close to 2 million people are idle in the country. And, idle hands become very dangerous because these people approach them online with all manner of incentives and they quickly jump onto the bandwagon. When people don't have access to basic necessities of life, water, access to sanitation services, access to healthcare, no shelter, they have a lot more to die for than to live for. That is why the Human Security Directorate at the National Security Ministry is very important, okay, in addressing some of these structural issues, which I, in my opinion, think is more sustainable rather than focusing all our strength towards Humvees, armored personnel carriers, and the rest, cannons. No, I don't think that is the solution. In as much as it is important because it shows force, I think the most important way to handle this is to ensure that the humans are developed.
But I mean, in this moment in time, if you're looking at humans being developed, maybe we don't have enough time because it looks almost certain that we are close. If you look at how the security is preparing to respond, you've spoken about militarizing the response, but do you think we are well prepared to deal with this as a country?
Of course, I do know a lot is happening. However, intelligence is not like a football match, so you don't have live commentary. So it's not everything the national security will tell us, but a lot of work is happening. However, there are some concerns because in the past, some arrests have been made. Some individuals have been killed in combat in Burkina Faso, only for us to realize later they had access to Ghana. Our borders still remain a major challenge. To what extent have we leveraged technology, such as drone technology, to keep tab of individuals who come in and go out of the country? Besides, when you go to the border towns, there's no difference between Ghana and Burkina Faso or Ghana and Togo. People live in Ghana, they work in Togo, and vice versa. So how do we deal with it? The intelligence gathering agencies, how are they able to progressively collaborate with the local communities, especially through their chiefs, opinion leaders, and identifiable groups, to get them to be very much part and parcel of that process is also another issue. Civil society, the National Security Ministry, to what extent has it involved civil society in this advocacy process? Because we keep talking about see something, say something. Then you go out there and ask people, hey, what is it you have to see to say? And for us at the Center for Security, we at a point went out to speak, to gather some information. about what exactly people need to see. And believe it or not, some said they were looking for bearded people because they suspect they are the terrorists. So that should tell you the level of ignorance about all of these. And so we came out with a list of exactly what are some of the things you need to look out for. And I must say, it helped. But if there's deeper collaboration between civil society and the National Security Ministry, I think we should be able to get a lot more Ghanaians to be very conscious of their environment. We should get landlords to at least do some verification before giving out their rooms or apartments to strangers. The community level, what do you need to look out for? Some new people have come to the community. They are buying a lot of food. They are putting it in a truck. They are taking it elsewhere. Where are they taking it to? They come, they buy a lot of fertilizer and all that. So I think with education, it would also help. But I must say, a good job has been done, but there's no room for complacency. There's still a lot more to do.
Okay. So if I get up today that I'm going to, a market center, places where, because we know that places where people do gather become easy target, I should not be afraid because, the defense or the security setup has my back covered.
No, not completely. Maybe 90%, but you also have to do the 10%. I'm concerned about public spaces in Ghana. When you go to the mall, there's no security check, nothing. I mean, countries such as Kenya, maybe because they have suffered terrorist attacks before, they take it much more seriously, okay? There's no metal detector checks. You go in, you come out, it's an easy target. For some hotels, they do some security checks, but it's not very comprehensive because they want to save time. They don't want to have a long queue. We can use technology that will be able to tell maybe there's a gunpowder related item in the vehicle, whether it's an explosive or bullets, okay? But generally, as Ghanaians, we need to maintain some level of situational, environmental, and personal awareness always, okay? If you see an individual taking pictures of sensitive locations, such as the Jubilee House, such as military infrastructure, secretly, you need to ask questions about it. And sometimes terrorists also engage in dry runs. I mean, they can pretend to bump into the studios of multimedia just so to gather information. When you catch him, then you go like, oh, sorry, I think I was going to the next building, then I came into your building. We have relatives who, when they become radicalized, they change. I mean, they don't want to watch TV again. They don't want any sort of entertainment. They go like, hey, everything about this is worldly. Join us. Let us do this and do that. These are people who live with us. Okay. And we should be able to be confident enough to report some of these actions. So you and I have a very important role to play. And I'm particularly excited we are discussing this because it is invariably part of multimedia's commitment to ensuring that the citizenry is informed about some of these issues.
So it means that the see something, say something is still something that we should, keep an eye for. But you said something about the public not being aware, and that you should be aware of your environment. But are there critical things that we should be making the public aware, such that when they see something, they can actually decide that this is probably something I need to report, or this one I just need to close my eyes to it?
Absolutely. There are a lot of these things we cataloged in the past. I think the see something, say something is somewhat vague. All right. We tell people, oh, if you see something, then you have to talk about it. But the question is, what exactly do people need to see? My grandmother in the village, how do I make her understand, all right, what exactly they need to see? So first, like I indicated, when, for example, I mean, this is quite basic. When you see a bag at a marketplace, okay, or at a public place, so to speak, unattended to, don't go pick it up. Just call the authorities, okay? Maybe it could be an improvised explosive device, all right? So if you see a bag that is unattended to, you need to say something. When maybe your work is very much related to the markets. You're selling. And these individuals you don't know come to buy large quantities of food. You don't know them to be suppliers, but they are buying it. They are taking it somewhere you don't understand. You need to ask questions. In some cases, they even buy fuel. There's this story about a driver who was contacted to supply fuel. He never knew he was supplying fuel to the jihadists. And that's exactly what they got him to do.
Okay.
When someone comes to buy large quantities of potassium nitrates, fertilizer, he's not a farmer. They just acquire large quantities. And we are taking it to Burkina Faso, we are taking it to Mali. You need to ask questions because Ghana, according to sources, has become a logistics hub for some of these terrorists because not once, not twice, trucks impounded in Burkina Faso reveal after investigation that they had come from Ghana. In fact, there's also been reports of improvised explosive devices going off, an investigation revealing that the cable came from a cable company in Ghana. So all of these is something we need to ask questions about and to let the authorities know. When some individuals, you don't know, they come to rent a big house in your community, they don't come out during the day, they drive unregistered vehicles. They only move at night. You don't know what they are up to. They don't bring out their trash. They don't allow anyone into the compound. You have reasons to ask questions. But Ghana, we are becoming like the West. But I think the West is now better than us because we go like, it's not my business.
Yeah, get it. I'm grateful to you, Adib, for joining us. Adib Sani is a security analyst, and we've been talking about the porosity of the Ghana-Togo-Burkina border. Just recently, that there was a shooting at the Togolese military camp on the Burkina border in which 6 soldiers, we understand, lost their lives. So we'll keep an eye on that. But like he said, if you see something, please do say something. We'll keep it out for each other. Away from that, it's been 42 days of strike by tutors at the 46 colleges of education across Ghana, and it is almost assuming crisis proportion, with the teacher union, CTAC, escalating the industrial action over government's decision to withhold their salaries. These workers remain resolute in their strike and are willing to forfeit not only their July but their August salaries, in addition in their push for better conditions of service. Despite GTEC's salary freeze directive, the teachers are willing to stay out of the classrooms until their demands are met. The strike, which began on June 14, has already caused significant disruption to academic activities, with most students leaving campus. Let's head to the various campuses now and find out what's been happening. We start from here in Accra, the capital. My colleague Kenneth Jesse visited the Accra College of Education, and this is what he found.
We visited the Accra College of Education when the strike entered its 14th day, and we're here again today. Not much has changed. The situation remained the same. The students are bearing the brunt, complaining. The students are bearing the brunt, saying that the academic activities have been distorted. Most of them have had to go home because they can no longer bear the economic implications this is having on them.
The strike action actually is having huge impact on the students and myself standing here at large. The economic situation that we are in right now. Feeding on campus is something that we cannot bear anymore. That when you move outside to buy food even here costs above 20 cedis, 25 cedis, and we've been here for over a month now. So the money we came with for the semester is even finished.
Now that's they are on strike. We've not been going to classes and we've been learning on our own. And most of my colleagues and I have been complaining that because they don't come and lecture us on some subjects, we lack some explanations on some concepts in the things that we learn, and it is impacting us. Learning on our own is a little bit difficult for us. Oh well, I'm expecting that the call of the strike and come to school and come and continue their service to the nation and help us with what we are supposed to learn, because the examination time is coming on right now, and so if they don't come early, it will be difficult for us to pass our exams.
The strike has really affected us. I'm not the only person. Almost all of us. It has affected us negatively. Ever since we came to school, there has not been any teaching or anything like that. So it's really affecting us a lot. I was staying on campus. Like sometimes you need a guide of your teacher to be able to understand what you are studying. But we just go and read with your own understanding, which is not actually helping or improving our studies on campus.
Well, the strike, which began due to a demand for the implementation of the salary structure, which was agreed upon earlier, has persisted for 42 days with no end in sight. The meeting between them and the Ministry of Education yesterday ended inconclusively, but the hope is that the strike will be called off as soon as possible so academic activities can resume. From the Accra College of Education, Kenneth Jesse for Joy News.
From Accra, let's cross over to the central region where some students have been speaking to our regional correspondent, Eric Asante.
The government and the authorities to do something about the ongoing strike, because it's having a great and a huge impact on we the teacher trainees. For example, the academic calendar has come to a standstill and students are here with we are so confused and we don't know what to do. So we are pleading on the government to come to our aid, because if our teachers do not come to campus to teach, we the students, we are lacking, and it's having a huge impact on us.
Well, this strike has been very, very terrible to students. And then although we are trying hard in the classroom, it's not the same as the tutors being in there and then helping us out. So most of the topics we've folded the pages in because we don't really understand them. And then, well, lots of students are going home because there's nothing they'll be doing on campus. So the campus is very desolated.
Well, let's do more on this particular matter. The principals of the College of Education, together with other stakeholders, are still pushing to get the teachers to call off their strike. But the decision will be known in CTAC's National Council meeting, which comes off tomorrow. Let's engage the parties on this matter. Fidelis Kamayi is a member of CTAC's National Communications team. Professor Samuel Atintono is president, principals of Colleges of Education, PRINCOF, and Razak Swale is president of Teacher Trainees Association of Ghana, TTAG. Also joining us is Larry Agbodo, editor, College of Education Journal. I'm grateful to you, gentlemen, for joining us. And let me start with you. The man with the CTAG, and find out from you, because you have been talking about you demand better services from the government, but it looks as though there's a push for you to reconsider your decision. What have your members been telling you? I know there's a meeting tomorrow, but even before that particular national meeting tomorrow, what have your members been saying? Do you sense do you feel that there will be an agreement for you to call off the strike?
Thank you so much for having me, and greetings to you and your cherished viewers. Members are very resolute. They are still standing by their decision that until the arbitral awards are implemented, they don't want to call off the strike.
Well, but I understand that there are arrangements for the certain migration to happen so that this sort of payment can be streamlined. Isn't that enough to compel you to say, okay, well, let's consider it and call it off?
So yesterday, as you rightly said, we had a meeting with the Minister for Education and key stakeholders in the education sector, and certain, commitments were made, certain proposals were brought on table, and we have taken those things with good faith. We are now going to discuss the issues with our council. So whatever our council decides is what we're going to do. As I speak, our members are not aware of whatever transpired during the meeting yesterday.
Well, but so I mean, from what you're telling me, will your council meeting change anything then?
Yes, it can, because if you look at our constitution, our council is the highest decision-making body. So they have the power to declare whether their strike should continue or we should call it off or take any other course of action.
Well, I asked that question because you're telling me that your members are resolute to stand by this particular strike. And that's why I wanted to understand. If your members are resolute, then of course the national meeting tomorrow will change nothing.
Conclude that way. A lot of things can happen.
Okay. All right. So that's Kamai is with the CTAG. Let me bring in Professor Tintono because they have also they are the heads of these colleges of education. I know this has really disturbed, the management of these colleges. But what have you also been doing to ensure that you bring this particular development under control?
Thank you very much. As principals, first of all, let me thank all your listeners, particularly CTAC members and PRINCOP members who are listening at this movement, and especially to one of my hardworking staff, Fidelis Kamai, who's speaking at the other side of the road. We are just in the same college here, and he's representing CTAC, myself here on PRINCOP. For us, we are their immediate employers, and therefore we are not happy that college will open on 9th, and then by 14th of June, they went on this strike, and it hasn't been quite easy with us. As their employers, every principal is concerned about the welfare of the staff that you have, and more particularly teaching staff, because if they are principal without students, without teachers, then you have no rule. So question then is, what have we been doing? We are so much concerned about their welfare, and we've been working tirelessly with government, engaging them at a negotiation table to see how the issue will be resolved. And for me, what happened yesterday is very refreshing, and I would want to thank CTAC. Of course, we concluded very well, as I said. Certain commitments were made yesterday, and we agreed. They have their own structure and processes to go back tomorrow and explain what exactly took place. And we hope that their members would take a second look at it, and then we can get back to the classroom and work together. This is what we look forward, and to assure them, and they know that we have been working on their condition of service. No principal in any college is against any tutor. After all, if you take over a college, you are concerned about academic work. That can only thrive on the basis of a tutor who's happy, and not particularly one who's not happy and withdrawing the service. So yes, we're with them and doing everything with government and all those involved to ensure that the things that they want, we get it and we all become happy.
Well, I've seen interviews with your students who are complaining of the negative impact this is having on them. As heads of these colleges, what other measures have you put in place to ensure that these students do not continue to bear the brunt of what's happening?
Obviously, when there's a strike, they are the immediate people who will suffer. Their welfare is very, very something that we are concerned about. We least anticipated that this strike would drag up to where we are, about 4 or 5 weeks now. But it's unfortunate. There were certain issues, and luckily, we are almost getting everything resolved. So we are hoping that whatever happens at the CTAC Council meeting tomorrow, we look forward to a positive result, and the students will definitely, their welfare will be looked at. That's as to how we account for these lost hours. About 4 weeks, if they have to go to classroom for 2 hours, if you multiply by 4, that means 8 hours has been lost. And for sure, we are ready to see how we can address that so that no student loses anything.
So will there be extension of the period within which they have to stay in school?
For now, I wouldn't say extension. We'd have to go back and look critically at what number of hours has actually been lost. What is the way forward? For example, if we were expected to close lectures at 5, and CTAC says, okay, tomorrow we're calling off the strike, and we now know that, okay, well, we'll come back to negotiate with you, can we together see, because also for the welfare of the tutor as well as the students, is it better to extend the calendar beyond when we should have closed, or it is better to spread these lost hours across in a manner that we can do extra 30 minutes every day and account for it? These options are on the table, and definitely whatever the decision, we will have to negotiate and discuss with SITA as well as the students. Thank you.
But when you do extra hours, won't it lead to the payment of allowances, which of course then becomes another challenge for government to honor?
I think this is not the first time. And for me, as I said, we will have to both come to the table. The college is made up of the management on one side, staff on another, and of course the students. We have found ourselves in this situation. We both have to agree as to how we do it. Recall when COVID came, nobody anticipated. We have had to have lectures in a certain arrangement. So these are not usually things I would think it should be any problem.
I'm happy you mentioned COVID, because I understand that during COVID, when you had to do extra hours, even those hours have still not been paid for. And so if you should add this one, it becomes a challenge. Or that's not the truth?
No. That was a different kind of thing. It was a whole year thing.
Okay.
We are talking about an extra hour for 1 hour, 30 minutes. I'm not too sure. I've worked with my staff, and we are both here. If we still stretch it even beyond, they are going to work more.
Okay.
So it's a kind of a mutual agreement for our mutual interest.
Okay, all right. Grateful. Let me bring in Larry Agbado. He is editor, Colleges of Education Journal. Larry, I'm grateful to you for joining. Doing exactly how much we're looking at in terms of these allowances that the teachers are calling for them to be cleared.
Thank you very much.
Well, Larry's line, unfortunately, we have to rectify Larry's line, then we bring him back into the conversation. But let me try and see if Larry's line will work. Larry, if your line is working where you can hear me, I'm trying to find out from you whether or not we have a fair idea as to how much exactly we're looking in terms of these arrears that the teachers are calling for them to be cleared. Okay. Fidelis Kamai is still here. Fidelis, let me come to you because you are a member of the National Communications Team of CTAC. How much in total is this? Are these arrears that you are calling for?
Yeah, the arrears are different categories.
Okay.
So we can take them one by one.
Good.
Then be able to do our calculations and arrive at a total figure.
Okay. But okay. So when we break them down, do we know? So for example, what categories of arrears are we talking about here?
So we are looking at the all year round work done. Then we also talk about the BRA top up. There's a book and research allowance top up. Also, the migration, since it's going to start from January 2023, it means we're in arrears of about 18 or to 19 months. So when you do the calculation, you'll get the arrears.
Okay. By the number of teachers that we do have, right?
Yes, and we are about 2,000.
That's a huge number. But stay with me. Let me take you to.
We are small.
You are small.
Yes, to compare us to Nagrat, NAT, or even UTAG, our number doesn't match any such unions.
But do stay with me. Let me take you to Kumasi because the colleges there have also been feeling the impact of this particular action by the CTAC members. Nana Boache Yadom has been monitoring the situation for us in Kumasi.
College of Education. This is a very large college of education, a very large school with a student population of 1,643. But as we stand here, well, as we are here currently, you can see that the environment is very quiet, which shows that a number of students are outside campus. They've left campus. They've gone to their various houses. We have visited their dormitory. I've been there. We've checked from their classrooms, and per our observation, the classrooms are locked and the dormitories look a bit empty. A few students are there, and then what they tell us is that in no time they would also be going home because they see no end in sight in this industrial action by the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana. Well, the St. Louis College of Education looks a bit like this, very quiet, with students also go into their various houses. When we got there, the school authorities told us that a number of students had to leave campus this morning and even yesterday since CTAC issued that release after withdrawing their services totally. And this is the same situation we are observing here at the Wesley College of Education. Academic activities have come to a halt. 21 days, if you're not able to go to class for 21 days, affiliate universities have their policy which says that you would not be able to participate in the examination. But then, in this case, CTAC has embarked on the strike for more than 21 days. Will students be able to participate in their final examination, especially for these students who would have to leave school this year? I have the SRC president here with me. They were in a meeting, discussing issues relevant to what is currently ongoing with regards to the strike by CTAC. Mr. President, looking at what is happening almost 6 weeks now. In fact, you're in the 6th week of the strike. What is the situation on campus? What are your students saying? You as a student, what is the experience like?
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity given. As you said, it has been 6 weeks now, and since we resumed to campus, and our lecturers have not been to class to teach us. In fact, it has been a challenge to us as students, because there are some courses that we don't have course materials, and there are some courses that we don't even have course outlines. And so it has become a challenge to us as even as SRC executives, because right now, looking at our level 100 students, they don't know anything about strike activities. So right now, it is we, the SRC, that has taken this burden upon ourselves to take them through some of the courses that you are doing. And it has also added an extra burden to us, because we also have our studies that we have to do, but right now it is sacrifice work we are doing. So if you ask me, some of the experience that we are going through, in fact, it's a challenge to us as students.
I was speaking to some students the last time I came here, and then their complaint was about your final examination. They were final year, so they were complaining about their final year examination. What is the situation when it comes to your final year examination? What are school authorities telling you?
So with the final exams, our level 400 students are supposed to complete school. That is coming September 7th. And as it stands right now, there is a strike ongoing, and they are even confused as we speak. They are even confused because right now they have not learned anything. Lecturers have not been to class to teach them. So their question is, what are they going to write? Under normal circumstance, we had to go through quizzes. We had to write quizzes so that we can get some marks accumulated for RCE. Yes, but then right now they have not written any quiz, any kind of exercise yet. So it has become a challenge. Right now, we don't know whether we are writing the exams or not. But according to the policy of our affiliated universities, like if you exempt yourself from class, that is 21 days, you are not supposed to write exams. And right now, CTAC has been on strike more than 21 days we are talking about. So we also stand that if they are going by the policy, then we shouldn't be allowed to write exams as well. So there had to be an extension of the calendar for our level 400 students. And in this case too, it will also bring another problem for them, because as we speak, there is a policy that has been given to all the 46 colleges of education. That is the in out policy. That means if you get to level 400, you're not supposed to be on campus. You're supposed to rent an apartment outside campus. So it has become a challenge looking at their procedures, because they went to rent an apartment for the semester, and right now it has overseed the semester that they went to rent, so they had to pay an additional money to that. And so looking at the strike itself, it has affected the level 400 students, most especially looking at their system right now.
Thank you very much. Let me get to you, my lady. You looking at you being a student, economically, are you fit enough to be on campus?
No, please.
How does it look? Your finances, the money you have on you, is it good enough? 6 weeks of not going to class and all that?
No, please. We are really striving here. It's a whole lot of stress, because you will be using money on things that you're not supposed to use it for. Most especially with our dinings and everything, with our feedings, we have to go buy extra food from outside, which is doing us more harm than good to us.
That looks very bad. But then let me ask you finally,
considering the fact that government is on the negotiation table with CTAG and there is no end in sight, what would be your word to these two parties, CTAG and then government in itself?
Yeah, thank you very much. I really believe that the government is really interested in education. So if the government is hearing us, we want to plead with the both parties to settle their differences so that our dear lecturers will be able to return back to class for academic activity to commence smoothly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And so these are some students and executives of the Student Representative Council here at the Wesley College of Education. From the SRC president, the situation is dire. It is very difficult for them to cope with the current situation, especially with CTAG not giving any roadmap as to when they are returning back to their classrooms. When we spoke to the lady here, she says that economically they are not fit enough to be on campus because they have to be spending money on a whole lot of things. He, on the other hand, is pleading with both parties, CTAG and government, to resolve the impasse. From the college, from the Wesley College of Education, my name is Nana Boache Yadom. Over to you.
So that's my colleague Nana Boache Yadom there. But let me bring in, because the students spoke about examination and how this strike impacted. Let me bring in Professor Samuel Atintono, who is president of the Principals of Colleges of Education. Prof, you had a student there express the concern about the fact that they've stayed away from classrooms for 42 days, and therefore, per the the laid down rules by the affiliate universities, they are not supposed to write exams. Will that be put in place, or something else will happen? Hello, Prof, can you hear me so we can hear what you're telling us here? Hello, Prof.
Sorry.
Yes.
Let me clarify something here, that the colleges of education, each of the 46 colleges of education operate on their own councils.
Okay.
So our relation with the universities, yes, we apply their rules, but we also have our Harmonious Statutes and all the governance documents that govern the colleges. So coming back to the issue that, yes, 21 days have passed, and therefore writing exams. I think what the students' concern is, if you look at 4 or 5 weeks that this strike has lasted, by now they should have done what we call an interim assessment or continuous assessment, which would therefore mean that they probably should have done one assessment or the other. Now, what it means is if the strike is over, we will have to do some readjustments to say that, look, you came back to school, studied for 1 week. If we were to do 4 weeks studies or learning in order to participate in this assessment, we'll have to do that. So it is not something that will bring them back and the tutors immediately say, go into the exam hall or quizzes. So that has been taken care of. And to assure our dear students that that shouldn't be a worry, our immediate thing is the appeal we have given to CTAG that these things should end. And once it ends, these are now implementation things which we can easily work around them.
So you were in this meeting with government. What was government's commitment to you to ensure that this ends?
I think the commitment is based on the things that CTAG asked for. And I'm happy their communicator is here, my own Gustav Fidelis. A number of them they brought to the table, one being the payment of the book and research top-up, which he has indicated here. Some progress have been made. We agree a controller have to pay that. It's with controller. So it should be paid as soon as possible. And the other one about the migration, if you listen to them, they said the implementation must take off. There's a letter from Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, which have now set 29 July as the day they will start the migration, which may travel for 4 weeks. Of course, one of the issues that was of concern to CTAG itself was who and who of the staff. That's from what category. There are people who have MPhil, those who have PhD. Government position was those with PhDs and those who are on PhDs. I think for now, if you listen very well, Director General of GTEC, and of course even from the minister and everybody think of ourselves, there's an agreement that it should start from those with research master's degree. So for me, a lot of commitments have been made. The issue he mentioned here, which is not in contention, the NSC award gave them, if they have to implement, it should take effect 1st January 2023. It's in their award, which is also something has been considered.
Okay.
So as you think, basically, these were the issues all year round. There's a clear roadmap as to how the payments should be done. And as you think that most of the commitments that government made yesterday, we look forward to goodwill and good faith from SITA from the council meeting tomorrow.
Okay, I'm grateful to you, sir. Stay with me. Let me bring in Larry Agbado, who is editor of the Colleges of Education Journal. Larry, I'm grateful to you. Let's try it one more time. So you have been keeping an eye on this. One of the things the teachers have withdrawn is the supervision of the student in the halls. What have you seen in the absence of these teachers on campus?
Yes. Maybe you can take the question again, please.
So I want to find out from you what you have monitored in the absence of these teachers on campus. What has been the reaction of students, without their teachers on campus, security-wise, because the teachers say we won't supervise them in the halls?
Oh, okay. So thank you very much, and good afternoon to your good self and your listeners. The situation across the colleges is not a good one to talk about because, just at the beginning of the second semester was when CTAC declared this strike. So absolutely nothing has been happening in the colleges for the past 42 days, as you have stated yourself. There's absolutely no control by tutors or management of the colleges as a result of the strike. You have students going in and out. Some have to travel home. You heard them saying earlier on that they are not able to live within their means again because they don't have money and the rest. Some have to travel home. Some who are also on campus are also being fed by the principals or by the college. And it's quite a tough one also because, you see, the principals have over the period, Professor Tony is on the line, he will tell you, have over the period complain about how their feeding fee is inadequate, where they are using about 60 to 50 pesos to feed students 3 spare meals a day. Now you have the managers of these institutions feeding students 3 times a day for 42 days, and nothing is happening. So it means government is feeding these students and all that is just going to waste. So if nothing is going to be happening, then probably I think at this time we should take drastic measures as to whether we should kind of put the colleges on hold, maybe close them temporarily until these issues are resolved. Because if we continue this way, I've heard Prof come out with suggestions that when they call them back or when CTAC returns to the classroom, they'll kind of adjust the timetable for them to do extra time and the rest. But I'm also hoping that that will not bring issues again of CTAC raising concerns that they are working overtime, and for that matter, they should be paid some extra allowances. So the going 42 days into a semester is quite huge. The semester itself is about 16 weeks. That is 4 months, and we have done about 1.5 months already. Out of these 4 months, the students had to use a month for exams, 2 weeks for examinations, and 2 weeks for revision. So they have barely 1.5 months left to have probably some kind of serious academic work to write their exams. So it's quite a dicey one at this level. And the earlier this issue is resolved, I think the better for our teacher education system.
Okay, all right. I'm grateful to you, Larry Agbado, is editor of the College of Education Journal. I'm also grateful to you, Fidelis Kamai, member of CTAC's National Communications Team, Professor Samuel Atintono, president of the Principals of Colleges of Education, PRINCOF. Thank you for joining, gentlemen. This is still the Joe News, and this show is The Pulse. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace. Now, you know what? We have a huge conversation coming up tonight on the Joy News channel. Over the past few months, there has been issues about, labor and what they do make of their pension. You remember this whole issue about the decision to sell 60% of SNIT's stake in some 4 top hotels to Rock City Hotel, which is owned by a great minister, Brian Achampo. It didn't sit down well at all with Labour. Labour agitated against this. It forced the hotel to declare that, well, they are withdrawing their bid. And then, of course, SNIT board also came to say that we've listened to you. We're not going to go ahead with this sale at all. But there's a bigger conversation for us to have. And we're asking, when it comes to pension reform, how do we secure our future? What must change? You remember in that fight, there was the call by SNIT or Labour that they want to now manage SNIT because SNIT is for them. The pensions is there. So they want to be the ones calling the shot when it comes to SNIT. So the question really is, if we want to secure our future, what must change? And that's why I'm being joined in the studio by one of the conveners of this particular national dialogue, which is going to happen tonight here on this channel. Richard Kwajo Nyako joining me. Rich, so what should we look out for? What should we expect in tonight's dialogue?
So, you know, the SNIT's Rock City conversation, it opened a can of worms, and we decided that, well, once that has happened, we need to broaden the conversation and look at how best the management and utilization of our pension funds would be. And so we are looking at the broader picture. We are bringing in some critical and key stakeholders to join the conversation tonight. So it's happening here at 6 p.m. and it will end at 9 p.m. So we have SNIT is going to be represented.
Okay.
We also have organized labor. So we have the Nurses and Midwives Association. Their president is going to be here. NAGRAT, NAT, you know, all of these people, they have their funds with SNIT. You know, from 1965 up to the 2009 when the reforms were made, I mean, people are still calling for some more reforms. You know, some people go on pension or retirement and they are worse off. And so we are asking the bigger questions tonight. How do we secure the future of our pensions? You and I will one day retire.
Retire, of course.
When we retire,
if we should do the countdown, you will realize that we are quite close.
Exactly. But you see, when we retire, that is where a lot of the issues crop up. Health-wise, we are unable to work. We need more money in order to take care of ourselves and all of that. So tonight, we are going to think about ourselves. And so the person watching me now, your voice matters. So we need you. You are the critical mass that we are going to gather in ensuring that we secure our pensions.
Okay, so it's a 3-hour-long dialogue. Exactly. Looking at all the angles that we need to, what must change.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, we will be able to know what Labour itself wants changed.
You see, people have even questioned, why do we invest the future of the pensions on certain things? So we are going to critically look at the management of the funds. So when we put them in a pool, what should we use these funds for? And how do we utilize them? So that should you go on pension, I mean, you may be smiling to the bank every month so that your pension will be some kind of good.
Okay, not to weep, as we see. Thank you very much, Richard Kojonyako. This is The Pulse. We'll take a quick break, but when we'll come back, we'll do some politics here, and I'll be joined in studio by Dr. Sam Ankra. He's an independent presidential aspirant. We'll be having a discussion on the campaign and politics around the country and more. Please do stay. Welcome back now. Let's do some politics now. And in the studio with me is Dr. Sam Ankra. He is an independent presidential aspirant. He says he has the key, to salvaging where the economy is and making Ghana a better place. We're going to have a discussion about his campaign and politics around the country. Dr. Sam Ankra, thank you and thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm good. How's your campaign been going?
The response has been tremendous, more than anticipated, to be honest.
Okay.
Ghanaians are looking for something different. The feel of the last or the Fourth Republic and what it has brought to the table is urging Ghanaians to look for a different style of governance, radical approach, hands-on competence in resolving our economic issues, looking at what Ghana offers as a country and how our people are living, the conditions they are living. So clearly the message is going on well. But I also made some very critical findings, which is very worrying.
Okay.
Our country is basically engulfed to the brink with dirt, rubbish, waste everywhere. No serious waste processing structure or disposing structure. And it's serious. Our open gutter situation, and with the rainy season, I think this is like a pandemic in the making.
Okay.
And these are critical issues that we have to look at. There has to be a correlation between health and environment. And I don't think we've gotten it. And leadership at the national level, these are critical things that we've got to look at. So in addition to the poverty, the health issues, the unemployment, and all the myriads of issues that Ghanaians are going through, there's also could be an outbreak of serious diseases and illness based on how our country is engulfed with waste every part of the
It's good you've seen the problem. You want to lead this country. What's your plan to tackle it?
Look, we have a special program as to how we will address the issue of waste. The Alternative Force for Action, Alpha Group, promises Ghanaians that there's going to be compulsory recycling of waste from day one that we are elected into office. We'll put up systems and structures in place where we would take, because waste is money, and we need to harness it. We'll process clean water out of it. We'll generate power out of it. We can even use a hard burn, even creating cement and other things for building materials. So there's a whole lot of use in this waste that we've left engulfing us and causing all sorts of outbreaks within our towns and villages and cities that we have. So AFA has a serious strategy master plan to address this cause in the process.
Have you done your analysis of how much you need to do this?
Absolutely. I mean, again, as I said, waste is money. You see, when government wants to do everything, then there's a problem. It's about time we understand that economies are built by the private sector. What government does is you administer, you manage, but you create the enabling environment for the private sector to drive the economy. In this country, you hear this verbiage or this words, rhetorics, or the private sector as the engine of growth. But what actually is that private sector being the engine of growth? What has these successive governments put in place to turn around to make sure that the private sector are giving the hand to drive the economy? Look around our country. 80 to 90% of our businesses is government controlled. How do you enable the private sector? So there are critical things that we have to go into if we want to create an enabling environment for the private sector to do it. So AFA, again, Alternative Force for Action, is promising Ghanaians we want to bring a radical move that would motivate, inspire, organize private sector to be the mainstream of our economy. And that goes through every sector of our industry that we can talk about.
But exactly how much do you have from your analysis?
Well, like I said, the feasibility and the cost is going to cost between the region of 250 million to 300 million. But it's not; these are not going to be debt incumbent on government, because government is going to create environment and give exclusive arrangement with private sector to be able to take this through to get it done. So in effect, it's not like borrowing into our balance sheet, but we are creating the environment to attract the investment to go in there so that in addition to making money, they are also helping us to clean and change our environment.
It's $1 million or cedis.
Dollars.
So you government won't spend a dime. Won't spend a
government
dime.
Won't spend a dime.
The private sector that will.
It's the private sector, but the government will enable the policy, put the structures and the laws that has to guide it in place and give the private sector the room to thrive it forward.
Today, a lot of Ghanaians are worried about the economy, that the average person struggles to even manage a 3 square meal a day. So this election will be fought largely on the front of the economy. What is AFA's game plan?
Excellent. I mean, I have said it before, Ghanaians are living like magicians. You'd see the income coming in as to the expenditure. Salaries have remained the same. There's serious inflation, depreciation of currency, and an import country like ours, where we are even importing toothpick, tomatoes, and onions, and so forth. Clearly, you realize that the living conditions is unbearable. And I have seen it firsthand. You have waiters and waitresses earning around 1,000 cedis a month, and just their cost of transport to their place of work is even about 1,500 cedis. Not to talk of the clothes they will wear, the food they will eat. So I even said Ghanaians are living like magicians. What is AFE's program? Look, our situation calls for radicalism. There has to be comprehensive, radical, bulletproof policies put in place that can address our economic issues. We are in a debt of over 13 billion. Any government that doesn't have a solution to address this huge debt of how they'll find money, and if they're going to rely on excessive taxation, which is again killing businesses and killing our people and raising the cost of living, we have a challenge. We've listed about 22 radical transformative projects attached to policy that would turn our economy around. Number one, we would domesticate oil production. I know I can't have time to go through, but let's go through the main ones. We would domesticate oil production. I have said it repeatedly. We are producing twice as much oil as we consume. And yet, everything we produce at the high seas in the oil fields are exported to somebody else's country. It gets refined and they bring it back, sometimes as high as 2,000% of the cost. You are importing inflation, you are depreciating your currency, you are not creating employment, you are not creating value or getting access to the byproducts that comes out of it. Basically, everything goes in a raw state and comes back, like many others. So we are saying, to resolve our currency depreciation, to stop the drastic high rise of inflation, to make sure that our people are having the best of the products that they have, to bring the petroleum costs as low as up to about 55%, we will domesticate oil production. First 90 days in office, we'll call the oil guys in the high seas to come on a roundtable discussion, give them an option to build a 200,000 barrels a day refinery. If they approve, super. Failure to do so, there's already far advanced talks with private sector where we can get agreements signed, establish a refinery, 200,000 barrels a day refinery within the first 8 months of AFE's administration in this country. Again, agriculture. You'd realize that agriculture has been the backbone of our country economy.
We're going to go to agri, but when it comes to your plan to domesticate oil production, it comes with the skill set. Now, the local content law prescribed the transfer of knowledge to the local guys. How sure are we that we really have the requisite skill set to let us do this, achieve the plan you're looking for?
Look, we wouldn't have all the skills and the technology from day one. Most of these are borrowed abroad and implemented. However, there's always an exit period. So let's say we go and bring a consortium of companies from, say, Norway, for argument's sake. Come and train and develop our people. Let us take care of our own resources. We will pay you from the proceeds of the product. Train, develop us, and exit and let us take control. This is a standard process that goes on. This is what the Saudis uses. This is what Norway adopted. This is what all the best practices around the world where the natural resources, especially oil, has been beneficial to the people. That's the processes they went through. Ghana is no exception. So we'll look at that best practices approach and make sure that we're not just exporting, getting the skill of the product, but we have the skill and the technology that we can import across the African continent or the whole world. Norway is not just exporting the oil products, Norway is exporting the technology. Everywhere you go around the world where you see high-skilled labor force in the oil upstream, they are Norwegians. You see them in Chevron, you see them in Shell, you see them in Exxon, all these big corporations. The brains behind most of these aggressive deep-sea exploration are Norwegians. It took a very transformative leader who saw beyond just the basics of myopic thinking of earning today, but thinking for the future and the generations ahead and the generations unborn. This is the kind of thinking Sam Ankara and the Alpha movement is promising Ghanaians given the opportunity.
But this law exists. That's why I mentioned the local content law. The local content law instructs every oil company in the upstream sector to do what we call knowledge transfer. So when you bring a skill set from outside, there's a number of years you need to make sure you have a local person you've trained. So, but we all know that there's a defect there. That's why I'm asking you, how will you ensure that that law, which we have sitting on our books, is really, implemented to ensure that we get
that is even a secondary aspect. I am talking about wholly owned Ghanaian oil corporation, 100% owned by Ghanaians, run and developed by Ghanaians. So the idea that somebody owns it and has to pass a skill, that's not really comes in. However, if we have to have certain the status quo, which is the current situation, is maintained. Look, laws are meant to solve problems. If the laws that we have put in our books are not solving the problems that they are supposed to be solving, then it has to be amended or abrogated. So let's review the laws. What are the reasons why the laws are not working? We'll look at it holistically and address our issues.
Okay. So you're looking at wholly owned Ghanaian companies refining fuel.
Absolutely.
In Ghana.
Domesticating the petroleum, yes.
Doing that in Ghana.
Absolutely.
That's a huge capital-intensive project. How are you going to do that?
Again, like I said, we're not just speaking hocus-pocus words of imaginations or creating sloganeering from the air. Every policy and program is comprehensive, thought through, feasibility done and dusted. We are not going to be the ones, raising capital. Government is not going to do that. Again, we're sick and tired of the traditional issues where everything government goes and borrows among their balance sheets. This is what caused the mess. And our pensioners and innocent people are getting haircutted. You don't have to put this debt into government. Government has to enable the private sector, like I kept saying. This is a proper PPP, where there is a private sector-driven initiative, where there's no encumbrance whatsoever to the government. The private sector is given the feedstock, that is the raw material, that's the crude oil coming from the oil fields. They've been given the market, exclusive market, that is the people purchasing the products. So if you have the raw material and you have the ready market, the in-between as an investment banker is the easiest part to put together to raise the money to get it done. So this is exactly the kind of creative, innovative ways the Alpha movement is promising Ghanaians. And that is why they should take this election very seriously. Because if we're going to continue the status quo, where certain cabal or a group of people invest money, win elections, and think they've won, so they are sharing the spoils among themselves, where the entire populace is left in the fringes, and 4 years come, nothing has happened, our situations have gone worse, then it's up to them. If Ghanaians indeed are looking for a change in circumstances, then they have to take us serious in this election.
I want to flow with you. That's why I want to understand this policy. So, for example, you win the elections, you come to power, and you want us to go into this refinery. For example, if I say I own a company, you want this company to be 100% Ghanaian owned, it means that I should come with the capital. Isn't that the case?
Well, not necessarily.
Because government won't do anything, but I should bring the capital.
Yeah. What I'm saying is this. Projects are funded by banks. A project is only bankable based on the terms and conditions attached to it. If I'm a banker, sitting say Goldman Sachs, and you walk to me and you say you are Joe Blocks, I've been given 200,000 barrels a day to refine. There's a refinery plant sitting in somewhere Iran that can do the job. They are looking for $200 million. I have been given the 200 million barrels a day, 200,000 a day oil, raw material from the oil fields. This is the oil fields. When I produce, this is the market. A, B, and C are going to purchase. The 200 million that I'm raising from the bank to, finance the refinery. If, let's say, they give me 10 years, and I'm earning, let's say, $15 million every year, and I pay 10 out of it, how many years does it would take me to finish the pay? The figures are clear. So it's bulletproof, like I said earlier, bulletproof, tested, solid business plan, which is bankable for every serious investment bank to be attracted to come and fund. And that is why I said it has to be exclusively based on the private sector. Government takes our hands off business, free the private sector, administer, run efficient government systems that enables the private sector to create jobs, create opportunities, build the economy for our people to benefit out of it.
All right, you were taking me into agriculture, which is one of the...
Yes, again, agriculture has been the backbone of our economy since independence. The key call to high yields is having fertilizer. Ghana imports fertilizer, about $500 million worth of fertilizer on a year-by-year basis. Why haven't we built a local fertilizing plant when every component that needs to go into a fertilizer is available to us? So what I'm saying is, again, we are looking to produce a 400,000 a year, 500,000 tons a year, metric tons a year fertilizer plant.
400,000
Yes, to boost our agriculture from cocoa production. Again, cocoa production is about 500,000 this year. The target of our administration, based on the structures, by the end of the year, when the fertilizing plant has been put in place, to be producing between 2 million to 2.5 million tons a year. We want to, drastically, we want to be aggressive. Because look, the depths that has engulfed us, the situation that we're in does not require cosmetic works. This requires a proper reboot and thinking in our approach and how we want to govern our country and how we want to help develop our people. So we'll put a refinery in there, we'll create jobs, we make sure that another 2.6 billion of food that we import on a yearly basis, because we are bringing this fertilizing plant, we can produce and get a high yield to feed our people and even export food outside the country. We're looking to make sure that we resolve our land tenure issues, which doesn't make agriculture attractive. A situation where a land is owned by somebody today, as soon as you start working on it, somebody goes to court and wins a court case to come and put an injunction on your business and so forth, would be a thing of the past. We're going to use blockchain to address our land tenure issues. We're going to make sure that government take ownership of our country and give comfort to the investors to be able to have the free hand to invest so that we can create jobs for the teaming of young people who are sitting at home. From what I have seen with my eyes, many of them, nothing to do, some walking through the Sahara Desert, piled up in embassies, doing all sorts of businesses, now lottery, now gambling. This has to be end. We need to create future for our young people. This country has to give hope to its people. And this is what Sam Ankara and the Alpha movement is bringing to the table. We are bringing realistic projects, tangible projects, bulletproof with proper feasibility to put into our land to make sure that we resolve our issues once and for all. The cosmetic work, the time for cosmetic work and all these gimmicks and slogans and so forth is a thing of the past.
This fertilizer plant, is it new to Ghana? Is it novel?
Well, again, I don't think it's novel, but I believe that it requires leadership with the balls, a leadership that can take these bold decisions, because you can't do this without stepping on toes of other people. It requires, but then again, our problems is far supersedes any one person's interest. Yeah. So we need to take those decisions. And like I said earlier, they are radical decisions. As much as these will be very aggressive, as much as these will be very painful, and the fact that it's going to help create our economy so that it can give control to us in running of our affairs instead of depending on people, instead of going to a war-torn country to supply us food, when we can do same here. Let me tell you something. Ghana has 10 times the arable land size than New Zealand, and yet New Zealand produces 10 times more than Ghana. Have you thought about it? Is it because they are whites?
This fertilizer plant you speak about, are you aware of the Petroleum Hub project? Petroleum Hub project in the Jomoro enclave of the Western region.
I am not here to look at existing futuristic things that hasn't got dream.
Okay.
I am sitting here talking to Ghanaians, knowing exactly what they are going through and promising them of tangible things that we control. Everything I am saying here is not based on what somebody is saying. Okay. It's based on the research and the planning we've had. And these are the things that is moving us to get into this politics that we're doing.
So the Petroleum Hub project is futuristic, huh?
I mean, it's up to them. If it happens, fine, we will look at it. But what I'm saying is the Alpha movement promising to Ghanaians is exclusively based on feasibility and tangible things that we control.
Okay. Now, from the Ghana Statistical Service, Ghana imported some 618,638 metric tons of fertilizer in 2020 alone. That's
it's a lot. And look at the value, the monetary value of it. We are talking about currency depreciating. We're talking about all the importing inflation. These are the causes of it. Let's domesticate it. Again, clinker. We want to create an affordable economy. You can't force production cost on people. You need to create the environment for the cost of production to be cheaper.
Okay.
Clinker is 97% component of the cement. And we can bring it down as much as 60% if there's a local clinker producing plant. Why haven't we done it? Again, our administration is promising Ghanaians within the first 90 days, we will sign up an agreement to put up a clinker plant established within 2 years in Ghana. So that we can produce cheap clinker along with our limestone and other components to produce cheap cement for affordable homes and affordable housing. Okay. You cannot talk about affordable housing if the cost of product materials are very high. It doesn't make sense.
So once you're promising of doing these things, someone says, I should ask you, do you know how much it will cost for us to establish a fertilizer plant? From your feasibility studies, you say you've done the feasibility.
I've done the feasibility on all of those. I can go. Like I said, it's about $600 million. Let me see. I have all the figures here. We didn't just, like I said, went into our heads and say, hey, this is what we want to do. So it's going to be a 600,000 metric tons fertilizer production plant. Okay? And basically, that is it.
Okay.
When we spend about $2.6 billion a year on importation of food and about $500 million on fertilizer alone.
Okay.
So these are the savings that we're going to put in place.
Okay.
And it's scheduled to complete handover at $600 million.
$600 million. Now, according to Mr. Michael Owusu, who is Deputy Chair of the National Fertilizer Council, Ghana needs some $2 billion to establish a fertilizer plant.
No, the one I'm talking here is $600 million, scheduled to be completed, tested, and handed over within 2 years.
Okay, all right. Quite interesting. So that's Dr. Sam Ankra. He is running for your vote to lead this country in 2024. He has told us some of the things he would do to ensure that we have economic independence.
Great jobs.
Let's see what happens. Doc, I'm grateful to you for coming through. But just before, your last words to the Ghanaian people, and then we can wrap it up.
Wow, so soon.
Yeah, exactly. We've spoken for long, but because you enjoy the conf, I'm sure that's why. So your last words to the people, yes.
Well, again, my dear countrymen and women, I know we've been discussing, or we've been thinking through, or we've been feeling the pain of what the status quo has brought to us. We can't keep taking the same direction thinking we'll get to a different destination. It doesn't work like that. Our country has come into a crossroads. The future of our young people is mortgaged. We're in debt over 13 billion. Continuing the status quo would not bring us any difference. I am pleading to you today, if indeed your situation is worrying, and you are looking for a change, I offer you that hope. I offer you that opportunity to do something differently to get a different results.
Okay, all right. Grateful to you, Dr. Samankra, for coming through, and I wish you all the best on this campaign of yours.
Thank you very much.
All right, this is still the pause. We'll now take you to Parliament, where the debate on the 2024 mid-year budget review has started. So I'm handing you over to our crew in Parliament now.